All right, so we are going to look at drawing some ribbons today. And I mean ribbons, it doesn't necessarily need to be ribbons from a Christmas present or something, but drawing this sort of 3D structure basically is can be fun and interesting and good practice, and just drawing some 3D shapes and things like that. So this is not the original image file here. You can see it's a little bit pixelated, but that's okay. This will work for our purposes. So what we're looking at here is, let's actually just turn down the opacity of this, and let's get a color that will show up a little bit, something sort of funnish and kind of darkish. Okay, so we're looking at this idea. We've got two lines. Okay, and the one is kind of a duplicate copy of the other one. So if you'll notice, we've got this shape here. Okay, if I just duplicate this layer and kind of move it down here, now the drawing that I made in the background there, obviously the ribbon is a little more distorted and it's changing shape and things, but the basic idea is this. Okay, let's turn this off for a second. We take these two lines, and if I connect these two on the edge, okay, and if this one keeps going through here, let's say, and these ones like this. So let's do something a little more simple along this same idea. Take this a little further. So again, if we've got this one line here, and I'm just gonna kind of get rid of that stuff. Oh, there we go. Okay, and if I duplicate this again, and I know if you're working on paper or something, obviously you can't just duplicate, right? But that's okay, because that's why we work lightly with your pencil. We make rough sketches and practice drawings. That's why digital can be faster. It's also not necessarily better. But that's okay. Take your time, do some practice sketches. You work really light, and then once you have your lines where you want them and you've got it all sorted out, then you can go darker, right? And hopefully you don't even need to erase anything if you've gone light enough. So you can see here I can move this in different angles depending on how I want this ribbon to look, but we're really looking to, from at a starting point, create a secondary line that's almost exactly the same, just below the other line. So that's not as easy as it sounds to do. Let's see if I can kind of do this, right? If I had to draw it, kind of like this. And you can see I'm kind of off right here, right? This is not quite lining up. That's okay. Let's try one more time. There we go. I want these ends to line up, right? If we think about where these endpoints are, I want to come out below, but out at that same thing. That's a little bit better. So, but just to make my drawing, for demonstration purposes, let's go with this exact duplicate, okay? I know it's cheating a little bit. And so what we're gonna do is we wanna connect these lines here and here. And if we want that to kind of continue, we can kind of go like that, right? We won't really see that. Yeah, wrong one. I don't want to have these on different layers. Let's put these together. Okay. Does that make sense? Let's keep that there though. But that's what's going to happen later, right? We don't really want to see that line. That's what's going to make it look like sell our 3D idea here. But let's keep these here to keep things a little more straightforward here. Kind of step by step, right? We're going to connect these lines like that. And again, here maybe we'd see a little bit more of that. Okay, and so from here, then we would go back and maybe erase these little connectors, right? Or again, if you're working with pencil, hopefully you went really light and maybe you don't even have to erase them. You're just not gonna see them, especially later on. We're gonna be adding some value to this thing, right? So you're gonna be shading it in. And if this is the top, we've got our light source coming from above, let's say. I'm just gonna pick a direction here. So this is gonna be lighter. It's gonna start to get darker as it curves away, right? So we could just put in with some quick kind of cross-hatching here to get this idea across, and then it's gonna get darker as it curves away again. Underneath here, it's gonna be darker, and then, you know, get lighter as it curves out. As it curves away, it's gonna get darker. Okay, and then we can start to see some three-dimensional qualities here. And I wish I didn't draw that circle in the arrow. Let's see. I don't like that. Let's go back. Boom, boom. Okay. So that's kind of like the basics of it. Let's take a look and see if we can see some other examples here. Oh, you know what? Before we look at that, let's look at this. So you can see here, taking that same idea of drawing one line and then drawing another line and then connecting the edges. Okay, it gets a little confusing where they're crossing over each other, right? But once we figure out which one's in front, it makes a little more sense. Okay, we're gonna get rid of that though. But you'll notice something different here. I've drawn, instead of just drawing one line on the top here, I've drawn it, you know, like everything has depth, right? Like if we're drawing something like a table with legs, okay, the top of the table actually has a thickness to it, right? It's gonna look more like this, and the legs are gonna look more like this, right? You guys with me here? Okay, everything's got a thickness to it, right? So, same thing here. A ribbon does as well, although usually it's super thin, and so you can't even really see the thickness, but we're gonna emphasize the thickness of this just because it kind of makes it fun to draw, and it makes it a little more interesting to look at, I think, sometimes. And, you know, I just want to, really. That's what it comes down to. So this line is going to always stay on the top, right? If we're looking down on this thing, you'll notice here we've got this double line that curves around here. It doesn't come out over here like this. It comes out down here because the ribbon is twisting, right? Let's draw through this for a second. And this would come together as it twists around, but we can't really see that. Okay, and again, it's coming on the bottom. This double line comes around, and here it stays on the top all the way around because of the way the ribbon is kind of laid out. So the other thing we can do is create some more. Now this ribbon mostly looks like it's flat. Here, this one comes up over top of the other ribbon, right? This piece here is going over top of this one. But it's mostly the same width, right? Everything gets smaller as it gets further away. So if we look at the width of this ribbon, it should mostly be the same. You know, it doesn't need to be perfectly the same. No one's going to measure your drawing, probably. And then as it gets closer to us, so like down on the bottom of the page here, okay, it might make sense that it might be a little thicker here than it is up at the top. Okay. I didn't measure this really. This is a quick little drawing. You can see here it's thinner here though, and it is getting a little thicker. Although technically, maybe this should be thicker as well if we want this to be closest to us, right? If we're really wanting to kind of sell this a little bit more, maybe we want it to be the thickest right here because it's the closest to us, right? As we move up the page, things are getting further away. Okay, I know it's a lot of information, but maybe you guys can pause it, rewind and rewatch things, stuff like that. So my point with the sizing thing issue there is, you know, we could also do things like this. If we have this one come in front really big, so we want it to get, I'm going to use thinner lines here. Okay, and again, that line is echoed up here, right? As it comes around. And we've got this added complexity here of adding this little extra line. And so let's make it a little tricky here. Let's see how this goes. This comes down. And remember, we're seeing this width here wherever it's facing us, right? So we're not going to see the thickness back here because that's the side that's furthest away from us, just like in our table drawing. Okay, whoa, this is a rough one. Let's start that again. Okay, just like our table drawing, we're not going to draw it thicker back here. It doesn't, like, how would you even, right? It would be down here, but we can't see it because the table's in the way, but we are going to see this part at the front, right? We're not going to see that. This is the top of the table. Okay, so we don't see that line. So same idea over here. We're not going to see this thickness at the back, although it would be like that. Okay, but we are going to see where this would come around to the front. And this one is curving around. Maybe we've got this. We'll have to maybe change that line a little bit. Oh, you know what's going to help? Let's do this. Can I turn off that black line? No. Okay. Let's make this a little more clear what's happening here. So I smoothed it out like this. Remember we started out with these lines and we drew these straight across like this, right? We've got a curve and we drew a perfectly straight edge like that. So in reality, maybe we don't see a corner there. If this becomes really curved and smoothed out, okay, it can get a little confusing. But same thing here. This is the corner right there. So this top line here is curving away and then coming out like that. Okay, that's the continuation of that line there. Okay, so again, just for clarity's sake here, I know this is a lot of stuff. Okay, we've got a line like this, and we've got a line like this. And then we're connecting them here. But then we're making this one thicker. And it comes out on the bottom. Okay. And then, so this here, if this is curving around, again, we could have it kind of go like that, and then we would see this thickness kind of like that, right? Let's clean this up a little bit so this drawing makes a little more sense, I think. And, okay, it's a little bit shaky, but that's all right. I'm gonna just kind of connect these lines so I can fill this color in easier. So let's make this one a different color. We drew it in purple. And again, we're thinking of our light source. So here we've got, in this case, light's coming from this direction, right? This is the brighter spot here, and then it's darker in the background there. Okay, so the areas facing towards us are lighter, and the areas that are facing up also, like the top of this ribbon, are lighter as well. So So the top of this is going to be a light color. And the front of this is, you know, also going to be lighter, and then it's going to be darker on the inside in there. So let's try and do that. In our background ribbon here, this pink is the lightest area that's facing up. So let's make this our lightest color that we're going to use. And let's leave that there for now. We can fill it in later. Okay. And then when it's curving underneath, it's gonna be a little darker down here. And this front edge is going to be darker than the top anyways, right? So we just really, and brighter. It's pretty bright. That in the other drawing, this bright red color, orange, I don't know what color that is. Whatever color you want it to be. Okay. So let's get rid of all this stuff. And so you can do some other kind of crazy things, right? Like right here, for example, we can't even see either side of it. It's like it's coming straight towards us, getting bigger. Folding in different colors. Folding, if we look at it from the side, right, it's kind of curving back and forth like this. And we're just seeing straight on from the front. Here we've got some like really kind of exaggerated loops where it's getting really thick here, and then it's coming out much thinner down there, right? But all these same kind of ideas. We've got this one line and then a second line that's kind of just shifted and doing some twisty things. And again, it looks more three-dimensional when we can have differences in size, right? So this is this line. This is the other one. Curves around underneath. It gets really tiny by the time it hits here, right? Look how wide this is up here. Okay. And you know, we can have things creating some sense of space by having this go in front and behind, or even right through if we want. You can do whatever you want here. Kind of it curl up. Do all kinds of stuff, right? Okay. Or tie itself in a knot here. I would suggest we look at some pictures when you're doing this. It might help. And start off with just basic ideas. Let's go do this one more time. Okay. So start off with some lines. And you're going to draw, or a line, another line, and thinking about this idea of, we can draw this one at a little bit more of an angle. If this is going to be the angle here, we want this other line to start. We can have it get thinner, and it ends at that line. We can have it slowly get thicker as we come towards us, right? And then we're going to connect those things. And again, if you're doing in pencil, we want it really light. And let's do another, oops. Okay. And then this is our kind of good copy. This is curving underneath there. And remember, this one's coming through there like that, right? But we don't want to see those right now. And if we wanted that to curve up again, we could do that. We're not going to draw that back part. Just go like that. Same angle, okay? And then we would want to clean up these edges. You know, if this was a good copy kind of deal here, make sure everything links up. And then we think about, that one looks a little funky, the way this is meeting up there. And I think part of it is this line. We need that to come from up there more. And that can make a big difference in how that looks. Remember, this line needs to look like it's meeting up with this one down at the bottom, right? And it's not right now. So maybe actually, it's tricky here. So this, maybe a little more like that. If we get this a little more curved here, then it'll look a little more believably like it's hooking up that one, and same with that one. I think that needs to come up there. Just little things can make a big difference here in terms of getting it to look kind of just right, you know, to make it more believable. There we go. This looks like it syncs up with that a little bit better now. I'm sort of happy with that. I think I would really tweak that a little more, but maybe it should be up there a little higher. But let's leave it. And then the other thing that we can do, if you want to, is add that other line to make that other thickness, right? So we got to figure out where the side that's facing us. This ribbon to me looks like it's facing us kind of like this edge. And see here we got a bit of a funky thing though. It does like a twist. So right now that side is like really twisting on itself, right? So, you know, I think we would see this one curving away as this one comes around like that, right? So as one's kind of disappearing, the other one is kind of appearing like that. See how it makes it look like it's twisted? These ones, we didn't do that. These ones are just kind of arranged a little more flatly. Okay, I'm not gonna clean this thing all up perfectly. The video is a little longer than I want it to be already. So, let's go like that, just to get it to look kind of right. And this is a little funky up here. It really almost feels like it's kind of there we go. It's a little, we need to tweak that a little bit, but that's not so bad. And then if that's like that, I feel like this is going to come down here a little bit more. Okay, again, it's almost like the same idea. This line is kind of a continuation, and they need to line up perfectly. And this one doesn't. Okay, so that's why it looks a little funky, but I'm gonna leave it like that. So, yeah, that's the deal. So, It takes some practice for sure, guys, and it's tricky, and there's lots of times, lots of things that are difficult. This little section here, took me I made a lot of mistakes. With this and trying to kind of sort this out. I had to redraw this, all these little things a bunch of times to get it to look the way I wanted it to. Like this light side here, as it comes out over here. I'm still not 100% happy with that, but you know, artists are always really hard on themselves, and most people are not gonna notice that kind of stuff. Not that that's a good reason to leave it that way, but sometimes you're just done with a work of art, right? And you just kind of got to move on and leave it. And that's how I know when it's done, when I don't want to do it anymore. And some things never get finished, and you don't show people, too many people those anyway. I don't. So thanks for checking this out.